I have been telling myself for years now that making my webcomic just had to be my destined career path as an artist. I mean, it was the ultimate long-term project for somebody like me. The best creative endeavor I'd ever chosen to pursue, and I never actually stopped to think, what if I'm wrong? What if that's not true at all? What if this isn't the breakout story I had high hopes it would be? What if this isn't the smart, creative investment I'd always believed it was? Well, what then? Hey guys, it's Kaez, extraterrestrial artist extraordinaire, Star Wars / himbo enthusiast. I'm learning the world of webcomics every day. I'm loving every bit of the journey, and I'm sharing my experiences and my findings with people like you who might be curious about starting your own tumultuous yet exciting adventure into the world of making webcomics. How the hell are y'all doing? Wow, you're so welcome. New year, new me, fuck, dropped my brand. Okay, fun and games aside, ask me how my week was. No, really, ask. It was something. All you need to know is I live in Texas and I survived. So there's that. Wow. Past the script. Now we're into the regularly scheduled nastiness. Did you guys miss me? Sorry, it's been a while. We did get hit pretty hard with that winter storm, and that put us out for about a week, and I'm just getting back into the swing of things. I had several things happen last week that were not great, and I'm not going to get into that because a lot of it is family stuff, a lot of it is very personal, and it's just, we're rolling with the punches. I mean, what more can you do? So I'm making this video today because I had to ask myself some very difficult questions recently, and I know that I'm usually typically the upbeat person in regards to making my webcomic and chasing that dream and setting these goals and pursuing that, you know, idealized version of myself as a webcomic creator, and hoping and dreaming and praying that one day we'll make it big and I'll be able to do this full time and I will be able to update consistently, and that's just the dream. That's just the biggest goal that I have set for myself over the past couple of years. And I had to stop and ask myself some difficult questions, and I'm making this video for the people who maybe haven't really sat down to have this conversation with themselves, and it's not an easy conversation to have, and I don't want it to be discouraging, and I definitely don't want it to be something that makes people decide, okay, you know what, maybe this isn't the right thing for me, or maybe I just shouldn't even try, maybe I should just give up now. That's not what I'm trying to say. A little disclaimer here. I just think that it's about time that we got a little bit realistic with ourselves. Because I have always been the person to really, really push people to be extremely self-indulgent, to do whatever it is that you love the most, and screw everything else. At the end of the day, you do have to stop and consider, well, is me doing nothing but self-indulgence going to pay off? Is it a good idea for me as a creator? Is it going to help me build an audience? Is it going to help me pay the bills? Is me saying, fuck everything else, I'm just going to do what I want as an artist, the way for me to go? Is that smart? Is that realistic? And in some cases, maybe not. I still say that it is important to err on the side of self-indulgence over creating content that you think is more acceptable to a wide general audience. Make things that you love, because then you will be creating and building a brand and an audience that is specific to the things that you like. And I think that that's important, because then, you know, you'll never do a day of work in your life. That's not true. But basically, you'll be building an audience that falls in line with the things that you enjoy, and people will want to support your self-indulgence. But all of that aside, this channel is mostly about making a webcomic. And I post my webcomic primarily to Webtoon. And I've gotten a lot of promotion through Webtoon Canvas, and I'm extremely grateful because that alone has helped me grow my audience over the years. And it's been so amazing, such a one-of-a-kind experience, and I'm not taking any of that for granted. I don't want any of my videos that talk about these sort of not-so-fun topics to sound like I am complaining, or I'm whining, or I'm just not grateful for what I have. It's more so along the lines of not losing sight of what's important. When I started making my webcomic and posting it to Webtoon, it was during the time of the 2018 Webtoon comic contest. And we really started off strong here, huh? But it was during the time of the 2018 contest, and in hindsight, I should have known, but there was no way it was going to stack up against any of the other entries because I had no idea what I was doing with my comic. But I thought, hey, I have good art and I've never posted this publicly, so might as well take a chance. And so I did, and nobody knew it was there. I didn't actually grow a following for Lucky until the next year, when I started posting more regularly, and then we got the staff picks and all that stuff, and then we were growing since then. But I just remember that my goal always, from the very beginning for posting to Webtoon, was to chase that metaphorical carrot of becoming a Webtoon original. Now, I still think that that's a fantastic opportunity, and I think that anybody who gets that chance, if it works for you and if it's something that you've really been working for, and that's honestly, I would still kill for that. But the thing is I'm kind of getting to a point to where this is not me saying that I'm giving up on that dream or that goal or anything. I'm still going to be working every single day towards that happening, or getting fully funded through Patreon, or whatever it is that I need to do to make my webcomic my full-time thing so that I can see this story through to completion. But herein is where the problem lies. And this is something that I need to address in myself, and this is something that I think that we all, as a collective of these little Webtoon bunnies chasing that carrot, need to really talk to ourselves about. And this is more so for me than anybody else. So don't think that this is a video calling anybody else out. This is a video basically of me saying, hey, I didn't stop to think about this until recently, and I want to let you guys know where I'm at in my headspace and my creative process, so you understand why there might be a change of tone in my newer videos and my newer goals for my webcomic. I have spent so much of the past 2.5 years thinking how amazing it would be if Lucky got to become my full-time gig, if I was able to commit more time to it, if I was able to make a living off of it, if I was able to become an original or become fully funded on Patreon, or do whatever the hell it is that I need to do to pay the bills and make my webcomic full-time. And the problem with that is that I've spent so much time thinking about what I could be doing instead of focusing on what I should be doing right now. I've spent so much of this time dreaming and just conceptualizing and brainstorming and hoping and praying for this big break for Lucky that I have not committed the time and the energy and the discipline and the consistency needed to pursue those dreams. Now, which is not to say that I haven't put the work in at all. I definitely have been working towards this, and it hasn't been an easy journey, but admittedly, Lucky has not been one of those comics that has ever proven to be consistent or reliable or easy to follow. Now, I'm going to quote something here, and it might make totally, absolutely no sense to the entire theme and message of this video. But I was reading this one shot, this little spin-off anthology, whatever. I think it's called Kind of Love on Webtoon, where they have different artists come in and they'll do different types of, or they'll do different stories, and they're very short little arcs, anywhere between 3 to 6 episodes or whatever. And the most recent one that they had was, I think it's called Peaches. Me not doing my homework and citing this stuff properly, but it was a little story by Lee Hama, who is the artist and creator behind Gourmet Hound, which is to this day one of my favorite all-time webtoons in the world. It is so good, and it is so enriching, and it is so satisfying. It is one of those stories that you start it and you think, this looks cute, this looks like it'll be fun, and then you read it through to its entirety and you're like, oh, I'm crying. This is one of those stories. It's very good, and it's very heartfelt, and it's very human. And I love stories like that. So when I saw that Lee Hama was doing this little one-shot for the Kind of Love anthology on Webtoon, that's probably not even what it's called. I apologize if I am misconstruing that, or like not even calling it the right title. I was excited to read it, and I thought, oh god, this is exactly what I want. A little love story by Lee Hama. And what it is I don't really want to spoil it, but it's not exactly what I expected it to be. And the way that it ended was unexpectedly cathartic. It was very it had a little twist. It was not what I was expecting it to be for the story, and it was very, very nice. It was satisfying. And so there's a quote from that I feel like relates to my current relationship with my comic and the dreams that I've had for this comic and how it is changing my mindset for it moving forward. And I will give you context as much as I can, because there are personal things that I just don't really feel like discussing on my YouTube channel. But the quote is, and this is from the main character, Caro, or Caroline, she says, I can't help, she's talking about her first love, basically. I don't want to spoil anything, but she's talking about her first love and how she's been in love with this person for most of her life, and it's not going the way that she had planned. And, you know, she's talking about this with a friend. And she says, I can't help but think about what I could have been doing in the meantime, because all I have done is miss out on friendships, lose a lot of sleep, waste other people's time. And that is a quote. I was reading it last night while I was thinking about or at least thinking about scripting this video. Obviously, that didn't work out very well for me. And it struck a chord with me because I was thinking about what I have been doing with my webcomic over the years. Also, just a little note here, because I didn't mention this earlier. If I sound congested, I've definitely been sick. And I'm still getting over that, so sorry. But I was thinking about this quote. It really struck a chord with me because I was thinking about Lucky, and I was thinking about all of the energy, all of the emotional value that I put into that, all of the hopes and dreams and what ifs I had put into that, holding out onto this hope that it was going to make it big. And I shouldn't really put a lot of groundwork into it right now, because what's going to happen if it does make it big and I need to redo a whole lot of stuff. And so I spent years in that mentality. And I don't necessarily think that it's a bad thing to set goals for yourself, but there's a difference between having a dream and hanging on to a fantasy. There's a difference between setting goals for yourself and just daydreaming. Because goals are things that you can work towards. Goals are things that you are making plans and making steps every single day to make that a reality for yourself. Daydreaming, fantasizing, hoping, praying, wishing, that's not really gonna get you anywhere. You gotta do the work. And like I said, this is a video that is for me. I'm calling myself out because I did spend a lot of time going, what if? What if this actually happens? What if somebody falls in love with Lucky and then like this single rich benefactor is like, I'm going to fund you to do this for the rest of the series and nothing else, and you will never have to worry about how you're going to feed your family. Just work on your webcomic every single day. And what I could do with that, what I would be able to do with my comic with that sort of financial freedom, that sort of financial security. And so because I spend a lot of time thinking, well, if it hits, if we, strike gold and I have to rework a lot of this, I don't want to invest a lot of my time and energy into it now, because then it's going to feel like I wasted a lot of time doing all of these episodes and all of this artwork if I'm going to have to go back and redo a lot of it. Do you see where my problem is? Some of you already know where I'm going with this. Some of you have already, some of you hear me and you're like, oh, Chris, oh no, that's where you've lost yourself. Because I did not give Lucky the full potential that I had. And it is a learning process, and I've said that so many times over the years, is that I'm still learning. There are things about Lucky that I know could use some work, and that's not coming from a place of self-deprecation. I don't think currently in this walk of life, or wherever I am, whatever I'm doing, somewhere out in the cosmos, currently in this stage of my life, I do recognize that self-deprecation is not constructive for me. It is not helpful. So this isn't coming from a place of self-deprecation. It is coming from a place of self-awareness and a need and a want to better myself. 2018 was a year of conceptualizing Lucky, because I didn't really have a lot of time to work on it because I just had a baby. 2019 was a year of putting those concepts into practice and seeing what I was capable of, trying new things as a storyteller, seeing if I could stick to a consistent updating schedule, just kind of exercising that process and seeing what I could do and how many episodes I could make, how fast I could make an episode, how long I could make an episode. 2020 was a year of struggle for a lot of us. And it was the year that I had spent most of my time promoting my webcomic and not so much time actually working on it. And I've talked about this before, but I think that promotionally I did pretty well because I did get it in front of a lot of new readers. I did get a lot of help getting it promoted on the Webtoon Canvas side of things, which is amazing. But I didn't put a lot of work into updating it as much as I could have, putting those things into practice, exercising those skills, etc., etc. And 2020 was also the year of, wow, this is getting a lot of attention. What if we do make it? It was part of the Webtoon Canvas Awards. It didn't win, but there was that little flicker of hope, like, oh my god, my dream is right there. What if we actually make it? Oh man, that's so exciting. And so that put me into, like, I'm calling it webcomic purgatory. Because it puts you in this stasis, it puts you in this state of indecisiveness where you feel like you're almost there and you're like, oh man, I could be making new episodes, but what if we actually get this? What if it actually happens? And then making new episodes, if I have to go back and redo all of this work, it's going to feel like a waste of time. And yeah, that is not productive. And I don't think that making a webcomic necessarily needs to be productive, but here is my statement, I guess. Here is my ultimatum that I'm giving myself. I am choosing from this point forward, because I love my webcomic, and I say that all the time, but I'm also married, and I've been married for 4 years, and I've been with the same person for 11 years this summer. And I know that there is a difference between saying you love something and showing it. There is a difference between saying you love somebody and loving that person. Words don't get you very far. They can be important, especially if you're somebody like me. My love language is words of affirmation. Butter me up. I love that shit. But empty promises are just empty promises. And eventually you're going to realize that you are not doing yourself any favors by not putting the work in. So I say that I love my webcomic, and I do love my webcomic dearly. But have I proven that over the years? I feel that I have to an extent, but not to the extent that I could have. I haven't reached the full potential that I could have as a webcomic making artist. I love this story. I love these characters. I love this cast. So that is why, moving forward, I am choosing to forget completely the goal of becoming a Webtoon original, or the goal of it becoming a full-time series, or it being fully funded on Patreon so that it becomes my full-time job. Which is not to say that I don't want that. Of course I want that. I would love to have that. But that is currently a distraction. And I'm not getting anywhere by asking myself, well, what if? What if I have to stop and then redo all of this work? That's just holding me back. So I'm gonna put that aside for now. I'm gonna put it in a nice little pretty box, and I'm going to tuck it away in the back of my mind, and I'm not going to worry about that anymore. Because, okay, let me interject here. I'm still gonna work towards the fully funded on Patreon thing, because Patreon is my livelihood. And that's me. That is 100% me. I'm not, I don't have to wait around on Patreon to, notice me. Patreon is my own work, so I have to go out there and promote it and stuff. So that we're going to take that one out of the box, and we're going to put that in my pocket right here. But the Webtoon dream, the Tapestry dream, the whatever, of becoming featured on some webcomic hosting platform, becoming contracted, or, some gracious rich benefactor just deciding, hey, I'm going to fully fund you to do this, and you don't ever have to worry about anything else, but you need to go back and rework some of this so that we can publish it, and blah, 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 blah. I'm going to put that away, because all it serves me right now is a distraction. And I don't think that it's necessarily a bad thing to have that as a goal, but if it's something that has been hindering you and your process of making your webcomic, then you might want to consider putting that away as well. Because it's not attainable for everybody. Which is not to say that if you're making a webcomic and you're posting it to Webtoon or Tapestry or wherever it is that people want to get their stuff noticed and featured, it's not to say that it's not possible, that it can't happen. Of course it can. I know so many people who have been able to become an original series over the past couple of years, and it's exciting. And of course it's exciting. We're all working for that, and it is very thrilling to be a part of that chase. But I'm kind of at the point in my quote unquote career where I'm dealing with a lot of negative feelings in regard to that, and I'm not putting the work into my comic like I want to be. So me making this decision to take that goal and put it aside is not any sort of entitlement or bitterness towards not being able to reach that goal. It is more so to remove the distraction from myself so that I can focus more on what is important. And the question here is, Chris, if you no longer have the goal of becoming a featured series on any of these websites, what's going to motivate you to keep making your webcomic? What's going to push you to continue to make the story? And my goal, my payoff, my ultimate end game for working on Lucky and updating Lucky and publishing it and posting it and getting it out there, the ultimate goal, the ultimate motivation for that, for me currently and hopefully for the foreseeable future, is for the sake of the story and for the sake of my characters and for the sake of my experience. Because if I'm focusing more on the what ifs of things that might not happen, could not happen, I don't know. I'm not going to jinx myself. I'm not going to push my luck, but I currently don't know. These are questions that I'm not going to have answered for a while. Maybe not. Which is why I'm not going to hold myself back for what ifs and maybes and I don't knows. I'm not going to sit here in comic purgatory and not get anywhere with my story because I'm so focused on, well, we were so close in December and like, how much closer do we need to be? How many more episodes do I need to make before I'm finally noticed or I finally get my big break? Like, I'm not going to sit there and let that determine how I'm going to go about my webcomic making process, because obviously it hasn't worked out for me so far. not well anyway. I feel like I could have been doing a lot more, and I could have. And I feel like I could have been updating a lot more and getting more of the story done. This is an arc that I have been working on since 2019. 2020 was the year that this arc was supposed to be done. I was supposed to be finished with this and flying through the finish line and moving on to the next thing. And I didn't even get halfway through it in 2020. We're still working on this arc, and I'm excited to finish it. Like I mentioned in one of the recent videos, I only have like 10 episodes left. So it's obviously something that I'm very excited about doing, but I haven't really been utilizing my time or my skills or anything to make that happen, because I've been so stuck in the what if purgatory, the decision, the indecisiveness, I don't know if I should do this, or if it's worth the effort right now, if it's worth the investment. And so having that conversation with myself and saying, okay, you know what, if this only serves as a distraction for you, it doesn't motivate you, it just makes you kind of sit on your hands, then maybe we should tuck that away for a little while. Maybe we should forget that for a bit. And that's what I'm planning to do. And I'm not saying that that's for everybody. I don't think that everybody should give up on their hopes and dreams of making it big with their webcomic, because honestly, it can happen to anybody, and it's very exciting. And I think that if that motivates you, then stick to it. But if it gets to the point to where it's keeping you from doing what you need to do with your story, if you're not able to commit as much time and as much effort and as much heart to your story because of these things, then I think it's fair to sit down and have these conversations with yourself and make that decision. Like, okay, this is distracting and I would love for this to happen, but I can't focus on my story and my audience and my readers because I'm so focused on the what if. I'm so focused on this fantasy. And I say fantasy because if it gets to the point to where you are daydreaming about something happening so much, but you're not putting the work into it to make sure that thing happens, then it becomes a fantasy. Then it becomes something that you are just hoping will happen and you're not really working towards that. And there's an opposite side to that where people are dreaming for something and they are working every single day of their life, putting the hours in, putting the effort in, and for some reason it's still just not happening. That's not a fantasy. It is not easy. It is difficult for a multitude of reasons. And I hope that whatever it is that you're working for and however hard it is that you're working for that thing, I hope that either A, you get your big break soon and it all pays off, or B, something better happens. And whether that's you just decide, I'm not going to focus on this distracting thing anymore, I'm just going to make it just for me and I'm going to fall in love with that process all over again, or you decide, I love doing this, but I actually don't think I love doing it as much as I want to do something else, so I'm going to spend some time doing this other thing that I love so that I can have a healthier relationship with my projects, and I'm not bitter about the fact that I've been working on this long-term thing for years and it doesn't feel like it's going anywhere. So do whatever it is that you need to do as a creator, as an artist, as a writer, as a storyteller, whatever it is that you create, to make sure that you are always nourishing your relationship with your content, with your creations, with your process, but also make sure that you are not losing sight of what is the most important part of your process. I lost sight a long time ago, and that's why Lucky has been it's been doing very well numbers wise, and I'm so grateful for that. Like I said, this is not me complaining, but I don't feel that as a storyteller it is doing what it needs to be doing. There is a lot of work that it needs, and I am ready and I am prepared to get back on track. And if I'm not focusing on the what ifs, if I get myself out of this webcomic purgatory and I focus on what is most important to me in regards to this webcomic, and what is most important to me in regards to this webcomic is that I love this story and I want to tell this story and it is very important to me, then that will help me to realize the true motives behind the entire process and why I do what I do and why I love what I do. Because if I'm just, stuck on the what ifs and the maybes and the hopes and the dreams and the wishes and the fantasies, and I'm not really putting the footwork in, the legwork, the groundwork, whatever it is that I need to do to make this comic successful, to make this comic consistent, if I'm not doing that, then there's no chance in hell that it's going to get any further than it is right now. I don't want to be working on Lucky 5-10 years from now, because I've just been kind of wading in the shallow end of the pool. I don't want to look at myself in a couple of years and be like, man, I should have used my time better. I should have been working on updating faster. I should have been working on telling more of the story faster, because here we are years later and we're still stuck at this point in the story. My audience doesn't want that. My readers don't want that. My patrons don't want that. And I don't want that. So by removing the distractions, by removing the what ifs, and just focusing on what I can do now and what is important to my story now, then I'm hopeful that that's going to pay off for me. And I'm hopeful that this new leaf, this new fresh start, quote, quote, will make 2021 a better year for me as a comic creator. Which is not to say that me being indecisive has affected the quality of my work, and that if I just make the decision to be a better webcomic creator, all of a sudden Lucky is going to look so different and it's going to be so much prettier. No, I already put 100% into the quality of art in my episodes right now. This is more so about time management and planning and updating consistently, and also I think that this is an appropriate discussion to be having with myself, since we just hit that first big goal on Patreon, and now I can, when I am working on my episodes, pay my assistants to help me, which is not to say that I didn't pay them before. It's just that I just didn't ask my assistants for help when I couldn't afford to pay them. I would just do it by myself. So it's good timing for me, because that just happened. That's a goal we just reached, and that makes it a little bit more attainable for me to work towards a more consistent updating schedule, more frequent updating schedule. And I'm grateful for that. And I'm glad that I'm having this conversation with myself and considering these things that I hadn't really considered before. And I think that whatever you're doing, whatever webcomic hosting site you're posting on, whether you have your own website or you're posting to Tapas or Webtoon or whatever, don't lose hope. Don't give up on your series. Don't give up on what you're doing. If you love to do it, continue to do it. If you are aiming to get your stuff featured, get your stuff seen, and it motivates you to get the work done very fast and very consistently, then I say hang on to that. Whatever it is that keeps that fire burning, then hold on to that. It's just that I have decided that for me, the fire doesn't continue to burn whenever I am looking towards the goal of becoming a featured artist or getting hired or making this a gig. I think that I'm just going to have to figure out a way to make this on my own for a little while, for the foreseeable future. I think that that's the smartest decision for me. And I think that that's going to benefit my process and my scheduling a whole lot better. Not my scheduling, my time management. Because I'm going to have less things distracting me. Right now, I'm at a point in my story where I do not want to start over because I'm very excited about this arc, and that's going to motivate me to keep pushing forward and to see it through to the end. Granted, if the opportunity presented itself, you better believe I would take a featured deal in a heartbeat. But currently, I'm not going to worry about that because I want to make sure that first and foremost, I'm focusing on the audience that I currently do have, the comic that I am currently working on, the arc that I have been dying to finish for the past year. That's what's important to me. So, difficult conversation, but not necessarily a bad one. And it might not feel good at first to ask yourself these questions. Well, what happens if my comic never makes it? Or what happens if I never actually can get this to pay the bills? And you just have to figure out the core of your process. And the core of my process for my webcomic is that I just deeply, deeply love it. And as long as I love it as much as I do, and as long as my readers love it as much as they do, I'm going to work on it until the end of the story. And that motivates me. And I want that to be my prime motivation. I don't want it to be about success or getting it, like on the top whatever of whatever website it's on. Like, I just want it to be fun, and I want it to be good, and I want to be satisfied with it. I want to feel fulfilled by the work that I'm creating and the story that I'm telling, and I am so far. And so that's what I'm going to keep doing. And I encourage you guys to do the same. And I hope that this wasn't like a discouraging video. I just hope that wherever you are in your process, in your journey, that it continues to be a fun one for you. And that we can continue to learn from the process and motivate one another and share our experiences with one another, because that's the great thing about that I have learned over the years. One of the greatest things about making webcomics is the community, and it's the other artists and the other people that I have met along the way that have made this so much more exciting and so much more fun as an experience. Because I feel like if I was doing this all by myself and I had nobody to relate to, I would feel very, very alone. So I just want to say quick thank you to all of the artists, creators, writers, etc., people that I have met over the years, from making my webcomic and reading other people's webcomics, and people who have helped me along the way. You're all so amazing, and you make this super exciting. And for all of my readers and supporters who have helped Lucky get as far as it has over the years, I love you so much. And I owe you so much gratitude and so much thanks. And I can't say it enough. It's amazing that you guys like what I do, because that makes it all the more worthwhile. So I'm going to go ahead and end this here. It was a lot longer than I anticipated it to be. And that's just how it is. If you like what I do, if you like my webcomic, and you want to help support my dream of making my webcomic full-time, please check out my Patreon, because I am just one guy, and that is the best way to support me. Go check it out. We just reached my first goal, which is 1K a month, which will help me budget to pay an assistant to help me with more frequent Lucky updates. My second goal, which I'm not going to jinx myself, but if we could get there, that would be amazing. My second goal is 2K a month, which would basically help me to make weekly episodes again. Go check that out. That's the best way to support me. And I also post other stuff there, like commissions and adoptables, and so just check it out. If you just want to follow my day-to-day, you can go check out my Twitter, and if you haven't yet, please go check out my webcomic. It is called Lucky. It's an LGBT sci-fi drama. It is very pretty with a very fun cast of characters, and you will find somebody in the cast that you like very much. I hope, fingers crossed. So go check it out. That is linked below, and I love it very much. So I will catch you guys later. If there is something that you want me to talk about in future videos, feel free to comment below, and I'll check out your suggestions or your requests, and we'll see what I can come up with. All right, guys, I'll catch you later. Bye.